Workshop meeting to order. And that will bring us to section 2.1, changes to the agenda and approval of the agenda. Section 3 would be recognitions, and we have none for this evening. Section 4, administrative personnel appointments, and we do have one. Would be 4.1, appointment of specialist, human resources investigations. Section 5, public comment, agenda items only. That would be our blue card. Section 6, committee and staff reports for the workshop only. We have any today?
None at this time. There'll be a couple
Under
presentations that we'll do during my section.
Thank you. Section 7, consent agenda. 7.1 will be approval of the agenda. 7.2, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of February 27th, 2023, minutes of the student disciplinary hearing of February 27th, 2023, and minutes of the workshop meeting February 27th, 2023, and meetings of the regular meeting, minutes of the regular meeting of February 27th, 2023, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.3, appropriation of District 2 School Board member capital outlay funds to Richburg School for an adaptive giant ball pit in the amount of $1,450.76, presented by Ms. Gardner.
Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner, for supporting Richburg School.
Always.
7.4, payment of the invoice from the Okaloosa County Value Adjustment Board, the VAB, in the amount of $3,202.09. 7.5, invoices to be approved for payment, presented by Julie Perry, Chief Financial Officer. 7.6, school donations, presented by Julie Perry. 7.7, authorized Choctaw Touchdown Club, Incorporated, presented by Julie Perry. 7.8, RFQ 23-35, School Readiness Bundles, presented by Vince Wyndham, Program Director of Purchasing. 7.9, Sole Source Purchase number 23-21, over $50,000, Teacher Created Materials, presented by Vince Wyndham. 7.10, ITB 23-05, Lattice Services for Portable District-Wide, presented by Vince Wyndham. 7.11, CACI Task Order Number 202 for installation of Federal E-Rate Purchased Network Gear, presented by Eric Mitchell. And that brings us to Section 8. 8.1, employees on administrative leave for information only, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.2, deferred retirement option program, DROP, for information only. 8.3, employment separations, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.4, personnel recommendations, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.5, employee transfers, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.6, employee suspension, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.7, employee termination, presented by Dr. Hale. And 8.8, leave without pay, presented by Dr. Hale. That brings us to Section 9, discussion agenda. We have nothing there at this time. Section 10, 10.1, program status report by the board's representative to the construction program. That would be Mr. Bryant.
Madam Chair, no report this morning as we have a meeting scheduled at 11 o'clock this morning. I will hope to have some information this evening. Thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you. 10.2, authorization for professional services agreement from Faithful and Gould for price validation for program number 6, task order number 31, Laurel Hill School Sewage Treatment Facility, presented by Dr. Bill Smith, Program Director of Facilities. 10.3, authorization for professional services agreement from Faithful and Gould for price validation for program number 6, task order number 32, Blue Elementary School and Kenwood Elementary School roof replacement. 10.4, Authorization for professional services agreement from Faithful and Gould for price validation for program number 6, task order number 33, press box concessions restroom buildings at Fort Walton Beach High School, Crestview High School, and Lewis School, presented by Dr. Smith. Section 11, attorney's business.
No report this morning.
Section 12.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I want to share just a few bits of information, and then I also have Mr. Horton, who I'd like to have give an update regarding our capital projects that are going on throughout the school district. And then after that, I'd like Mr. Gore to also speak to the social studies textbook adoption, so you can kind of know where we are and where we're going. But I first want to start off by saying that we have officially kicked off our anti-vape campaign. As you know, vaping is I think some would call it an epidemic throughout the nation, and I think it's something that also impacts us here in Okaloosa County. And I appreciate this board being proactive in addressing this issue. I do want to say that we have sent home, we're in the process of sending home right now, letters to parents so they can understand exactly what we're doing and asking for that partnership with us in addressing this issue. Myself and Sheriff Aiden did a video together sharing our stance on this. And one of the things that I think is important to note, this is not about trying to catch kids. It's not about trying to offer discipline, even though there is discipline associated with making the wrong choice. This is about our students' health and safety, and that's our primary goal. We also sent this information out to the media. We have students across our high schools who are making public service announcements about making the right choice not to vape, so I very much appreciate our students partnering with us as well. I think that is fantastic when you can get students to be leaders in this issue. And then also, as you know, we are still going through the process of purchasing and then installing anti-vape detection devices. They will be installed in our bathrooms. There is a software piece to that where administrators will be notified. There is protection devices, so the vape detection devices aren't tampered with. So a lot of thought has gone into this, but we're starting that campaign now officially. Also, I want to let the board know kind of a success here. As you know, we have our artificial intelligence and machine learning course. All of our middle schools have it, as well as Choctawhatchee High School, and we'll have another high school come on board next year. But the students have started taking these exams, and just like our CTE certifications, these are adult level courses. And if you can imagine taking, let me get the right term so I say it the correct way, Python. So Python is a rigorous assessment for adults. And so far, we have our students that are taking tests, but at STEM school, 60% of our students have already passed on the first attempt, and there's 2 more attempts that come, so we know that 60% is going to go even higher. And then over at Choctawhatchee, 50% of our students in the course have already passed that certification, and again, 2 more attempts are coming. As you know, this is a Triumph Gulf Coast grant, so we have deliverables that we have to meet by December of next year, so we're well on our way of doing a great job of hitting the number of certifications needed in this very rigorous course. So I just thought that would be of interest to y'all. And then at this time, I'd like Mr. Gore, if you'd come forward and share some of that information on, and Hillary, if you already made the adjustment based on what I said, that's fine. Mr. Horton, come forward.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly, board members. We were here in the fall, I think it was November, just giving you a capital update, and we want to do that every few months to keep everyone informed about where we are in the progress of the capital projects that we're working on as a school district.
If, before Mr. Horton gets started, Madam Chair, this will actually kind of be the construction side of, talking about some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. So,
Absolutely.
So thank
Mr.
you.
Bryant gets into far more detail than I do. And I know that Mr. Belcher came before the board last week and gave a great update from the Citizens Oversight Committee. We are having that meeting tomorrow afternoon as well. So just to give an update on some things, one of the things we want to make sure we do is keep track of where we are in revenue collections as a school district. So this particular chart is through December of 2022. So now we're looking at actually 2 full years of revenue under the sales tax program. Ms. Scallon, I keep this here because it's just still Ms. Scallon here, was the original projections from when that went before the voters. And you'll see at this point through 2 years, the revenue projection was $40.98 million. Because of the robust economy that we've had and how Florida stayed open during the pandemic, we've actually collected $63.699 million in revenue. And so those funds are being used obviously to tackle a lot of the large construction projects that are ongoing right now under that certificate of participation borrowing that the district did, but also to expedite more projects, get more roofing projects done, more HVAC done that are on those sales tax lists. So really good news there. We know costs have gone up as well. We say that every time as the caveat, but I'm pleased so far with the revenue collections. At the same time, and again for everyone out there to see, this is that sales tax revenue stream for 2 years. The second slide that we have is our traditional capital outlay dollars. And we talked about the last time, and I think I showed this slide before, just as a reminder, that the capital outlay, which we refer to as 1.5 mil, has also gone up over the past 4 years significantly. Now, this board had nothing to do with that. The millage rates that we as citizens in Okaloosa County pay for property are as low as they've ever been. The property values, and I've experienced that as a homeowner, the property values have gone up, which has caused the revenue collections to go up over time. So millage rate as low as it's ever been, and property values going up has led to more. So on the right-hand side, just a reminder of the kinds of large items that this revenue stream on this page has been used to address in the past. The seat management, all of our computers and network and internet for all of our students and all of our staff. Maintenance personnel, maintenance transfers to do a lot of the maintenance work that we do in our district. And districts throughout the state use that capital outlay in that way as well. Debt service that appeared back in that time is no longer there. It was for schools that were under construction, Riverside and Shoal River, that the district was paying off over time. That used to be an obligation to this capital outlay budget. School security, prior to the half-cent sales tax, we were trying to carve out funds annually to try to tackle the security projects that now, thanks to the half-cent sales tax, have all been completed years ahead of schedule. And so back in a day, prior to the half-cent sales tax, that left us with a little under $6 million for everything else that had to happen in all of our schools. And we know that was, by any measure, not enough to get the job done when you look at a roofing project at a single school that might be $2 to $3 million. So great blessing to have the half-cent sales tax come in and be able to really give the school district and the students and the staff and the families the necessary capital improvement that has to happen to keep our schools in good shape.
I have a question
Yes,
about our debt. You mentioned Shoal River and Riverside, the last 2 schools that we built. So where are we on paying those off?
That's completely done. That's
Okay,
been
that-
retired. So this goes back to 2020. We were still paying on those.
Okay, so that's
but-
handled.
Yes,
So-
ma'am. That's
okay.
completely gone. So the debt now is under the certificate of participation. So we have a repayment schedule for that. And keep in mind, the repayment schedule for that borrowing that is working to complete all of the 19 construction projects around the district, that certificate of participation expires at the end of the 10th year of the sales tax. So there was no desire to extend that borrowing out beyond the current limit of the sales tax, because that's going to be the funding that helps to repay that COP.
And what about the purchase of land in Crestview?
So one of the great things, so going back to just kind of the emphasis here, is that the half-cent sales tax has allowed us to do so many things that have been needed to be done in our schools that it has freed up the capital budget that we typically have. Now keep in mind, all districts, we're the last district in Florida to have a second source of revenue to help support. Every other district had either a half-cent sales tax, voter-approved millage, or something. So we were the last ones But what it has done, Ms. Evanchik, is given us the ability to look at our capital budget that you see here.
Right.
And do some things with it that we maybe wouldn't have been able to do before. So we were able to budget over the last couple of years some funds in land acquisition that's allowing us to purchase the land in Crestview that we are working to close on.
Great, thank you.
Yep. All right. And again, just a reminder for those who maybe were not around in November, these are some highlights of the capital projects funding from 2020 to 2023. You'll see into the safety area, all of our single points of entry and perimeter security were done years ahead of schedule. The camera systems, the communication systems, fire alarm upgrades, intercom replacements, internal access control, which is what we said before, the internal access control. All of our perimeters are secure, but now we're looking at electronic control and access control of our classrooms. And so the key as a way of getting into and out of a doors will probably in a couple of years be gone by the wayside. So we all have access cards that are programmable. There's a lot more security there because you can eliminate the code here, and if someone separates from the district or if someone loses their ID badge, it's just a quick call and that card is no longer valid. And you probably remember the days of being in a school and losing keys and then maybe have to scramble to get everything rekeyed or to find the keys. And so that's something that we're working on, and I think we'll have a purchase to bring before the school board this summer for the hardware involved in that, and then possibly installation the following summer. It's a big district-wide project, and we've got to do that when school's not in session. The school environment is very important. So some of our school buildings are older, but their bones are good, and so we've needed classroom renovation, we've needed cafeteria renovations, we've needed canopy extensions, we've needed site work. So all of those things are happening now, and we're working with Jacobs Titan closely on a number of those things. Site infrastructure, paving, sewer, bathrooms, floors. It's probably never going to be the case in any school district that you're not going to have a backup of some kind in the septics or sewer system. And so the fact that we're able to replace some of the piping in some of the schools that we've done, and also have equipment in place to handle anything. So I think we're in a much better place than we were even 2 years ago with regard to that. School additions, we always keep bringing back to the board information on classroom additions, cafetoriums, kitchen renovations, and multi-purpose facilities. So that's the bulk of that certificate of participation funding. We've got 19 construction projects ongoing. We'll have a couple of pictures to share with you. And again, the school buses, we've talked about that numerous times. We're expecting our next set of school buses, which is 15 buses, to come in at the end of April, be equipped with cameras and everything that's needed to, and then be ready to put on the road in the fall. It is important to know that we order both regular buses, 77 passenger buses, but also ESE buses as well to spread those around the district. And then the new construction piece, obviously, that we're looking at moving into this later spring. Some pictures, and I joked with Hillary, I'm always sending Hillary out to get pictures, telling the principal, send me pictures. A week will go by, or 2 weeks will go by, and it'll look completely different. So this is a Silver Sands Classroom Edition. The walls are already there. They've moved past it. So it's hard to keep up with the pace of construction. I was out on a school site at Laurel Hill last week, and there I counted probably 20 people out there doing brickwork and roof work. I mean, it's amazing the rate at which some of this is happening. The Elliott Point classroom is closed in. The roof is on, so that's even a picture that can be updated for the next time. And we continue to try to do that on our website and any social media posts that we have.
Madam Chair, if I can, for Mr. Horton, as the construction committee goes, the report that we got last go-round is that most of all this construction's ahead of schedule. So we hopefully will be in these classrooms at the beginning of the school year is the goal. So.
That is true. And so an example of Elliott Point, for example, this classroom, I think it's an 8 classroom addition, should be ready to go by the beginning of the school year. And we got to take into account teachers needing time. So we're not talking about the first day of school. It's time for teachers to get the information and get moved in. Furniture, technology, everything else going in there. But we're on great schedule right now to have a lot of these things available for the beginning of the school year, which was not originally anticipated, which is good. The multi-purpose buildings, again, far beyond that. I think Crestview's and Fort Walton's almost look like complete structures now. You'll start to see more work at Choctawhatchee High School with some things coming out of the ground, and then Niceville High School and Baker also will be coming out of the ground before too long. This multipurpose building, I think, is probably going to be ready by the start of the school year as well. But the ones that follow behind it may be a little bit later, but really great progress on that.
I drove
This-
past this, the other day, and amazed at how quick this is going up and what they're doing. It's.
And this particular facility, along with the one at Crestview, that's close to that level of completion, those are much-needed facilities in our schools to give our students in all areas, whether it be athletics or extracurricular or the arts, the band, opportunity to have extra indoor space to do what needs to be done at the school. And I will share with you just a little anecdote. My son is a former coach and teacher, went up into the high school at Niceville Saturday to shoot some hoops. And he called me, says, I'm heading out because the band is coming in. So the band was coming into the gymnasium, and they section out and put the horn somewhere, they put the drum somewhere else. So they spread to different areas so they can do the practice that they need to. But it's just another kind of a visual for me of how many spaces that a school needs to really execute their programs with excellence. And the schools do a great job in the limited space they have right now. HVAC replacement pieces that are happening at all of our sites. Here's the single point of entry at Destin Elementary. They've expanded the canopy there. They've got a really nice entryway. So these things are all coming in and critical to the safety of our schools. Just a quick reminder, again, we want to put this out every time we come bring a presentation to the board. Our half-cent sales tax capital campaign does have a citizens oversight committee, and we've got a dedicated website to the progress of that, which identifies with picture and also budget information how these projects are progressing. So appreciate Jacobs Titan and Joel Lindner and that group for keeping that site up and running. Sometimes it takes about a month in arrears to keep things going, but it's an important piece of the board's commitment to transparency and accountability on behalf of this. A couple of upcoming projects, spring and summer 2023. So these are the things that are on our radar, and it's not an exhaustive list, but the roofing projects at Blue Water, Walker, and Longwood Elementary, those have all already been approved by the board under GMP. We're expecting those all to be completed before the start of school, and I think in some cases that work's going to begin later this spring. And we'll work around the schools in terms of noise and things like that during a testing environment, but make sure that we coordinate with those principals and staffs. But those are 3 big roofing projects that are going to be worked on and completed before the beginning of the school year. Longwood interior renovation, that's also a piece where we're putting up the walls in a school that has been an open pod concept. And if you visited the school, you know they've formed their own walls with kind of mountains of things. So the school is very excited about the fact that those walls will be up this summer, and Jacobs Titan's taken this job as a priority. We have a plan with the principal for teachers as soon as they're ready to start boxing up some of their things to move them into a secure location. I think that the principal's got a good plan for that, and communication is the key here. And so we'll be working to get this up and running with new furniture, fixtures, and equipment, technology in all of those classrooms. It'll be really a showcase spot, but it's been a long time coming for that school to get those classrooms walls put up. The Richburg old administrative building, there's a renovation plan for that. You've yet to see, so let me back up. You've yet to see the board item for the Longwood interior classroom renovation as a guaranteed maximum price. I believe that's coming very soon, potentially at the next board meeting. Likewise, the Richburg renovation of the old admin building. Dr. Chapman up there, the principal at Richburg School, has a great plan, working with his staff to create some student space in there for OT, PT, and other things, and also some additional space for some of the staff at the campus. So both of those items will come to you as a guaranteed maximum price in the next board meeting or so. The other thing that we'll be bringing to the board later in April would be pre-GMP work, design work, to authorize design work and engineering work for new school construction. So Mr. Chambers has talked repeatedly about building the schools in Crestview with the population growing and the need for school there. And so that pre-GMP will come to the board for approval in April, late April. And I also believe along with that, you'll see at a minimum, you'll see a pre-GMP request for expansion at Destin Elementary to include classroom space for that school and Destin Middle, which is also a very overcrowded school. So the plan to help alleviate the crowding in both of those two schools. And then the final thing on there, certainly not sales tax related at all, but the central admin renovation, I know we've talked about that for a while. You'll see a GMP for that coming up in April. And with the thought that that process and progress, if approved, could begin this summer, and hopefully be near completion of phase 1 by the end of the calendar year, if not a little bit further. But that is a major step, and I know an important piece in terms of the centralizing of the district staff, and getting all of our shops under one roof and improving efficiency there, and actually saving some cost on probably some electrical and utilities, and potentially some staff with a consolidation of some office space here. So that's that, and I'll stop any time for questions, because I don't have a whole lot more here. I do want to add on, and just as a reminder to folks, ways to stay engaged with information regarding capital projects and other things would be through our Catch the Wave, also the Superintendent's School Board Highlights, and they can use this document to scan and subscribe to anything that they'd like to.
I'd just like to say how excited I am to see these projects come to fruition that we've been talking about for some time. I remember being a school principal and living in some of these old buildings with students and faculty, and it's just marvelous that now we're able to see not just patches on top of patches, but true renovations, true long-term solutions to these elements that we've been living in just patchwork, quilt work fashion for so long. So I'm just so delighted that we're able to do long-term solutions and bring true solutions to these schools and these facilities.
Well, I laughed when you were talking about the single point entry and so forth, but when you walk into the school at the beginning as a principal, and you're not handed 1 or 2 keys, you're given one ring and another ring that has
Big.
probably 20, 30,
Mhm.
40 keys, and it's like here. So it'll be nice to be able to consolidate all that and get that down to, not a box of keys, but.
Yes,
just-
ma'am.
Mhm.
It took a long time, so we went out and surveyed every single school campus, walked every campus, looked at all the doors, all the locks, and coming back together with a wealth of information that then we can go out to bid and look for mechanisms that help keep our schools safe and help us keep track of
I think that's
that piece.
excellent.
Access control.
Excellent.
And ditto for the school buses. I mean, we've needed new buses forever, and I'm just so excited that we now have modern, up-to-date buses with all the modern conveniences for our students.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a plan to continue
That's
purchasing
right.
those buses, because
Right.
that has never been available, that there's been an ongoing funding
Right.
to purchase these buses, to keep them updated.
Well, and we appreciate, the opportunity to share this information every few months. We want to continue to give you an update specifically where we are. And if you think back to one of Mr. Horton's slides, in the past, approximately $5 to $6 million to fix the entire school district. And now with the half-cent sales tax, you think about the $128 million COP that we issued, and we're able to get this work going, a more robust capital budget now as well to keep work going. So just a lot is occurring throughout the school district. As you know, tonight when you'll hear all those different task orders, where it used to be task order 1, and then we were done. Now we're having pages of task orders, and I think for this board, I know we're so excited about this for our students and employees to be able to update the facilities. There's still work to be done, but a lot is on the way. Thank you, Mr. Horton.
Well, and I just can't help but say this, how grateful I am, and I'm sure my colleagues on the board are, to you, Mr. Horton, the superintendent, your staff, the principals, the teachers, because I certainly wouldn't want to refer to this as an add-on responsibility or an add-on job, but this has been a massive undertaking that you guys have picked up and you've done, and it appears to be exemplary. And just grateful for all that additional effort and additional work that went into all of this on your part and the part of all the folks that I previously mentioned. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. It's a good job to have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and as Mr. Horton is heading back to the seat, Mr. Gore's coming forward. Just again, want to continue to keep the board up to date, keep the public up to date. We remember last year's math textbook adoption where we had to make a few adjustments. I'll just say that. And I just appreciate Mr. Gore learning from those adjustments and being very proactive in his approach to the textbook adoption process. And he's done a great job, but want to let you know specifically where we are.
Hey, good morning. As Superintendent Chambers alluded to, we've reached a fairly significant milestone in the adoption process for this year with social studies. So we felt like it was an appropriate time to come back and review what's been accomplished in terms of the process, and then also where do we go from here. So initially, going back to January 9th, we came to the board and presented what we plan to do. And so we always like to come back and illustrate what we have accomplished. So our first step that officially kicked it off with our review committees was January 10th and 11th. We had planned to train them on Edcredible, which is our online textbook adoption platform. And so we were able to accomplish that. So we did check that one off the list. From January 31st to February 3rd, we had scheduled publishers to come do in-person presentations. That's something that for the math adoption and ELA adoptions, we had heard feedback, hey, we want the in-person presentations back so we can get a look and feel of the materials and talk to publishers. So we did schedule those, and they all attended. We feel like it was a very productive session, a lot of good questions and a lot of good feedback. Once the publishers presented the materials and the committees had a chance to review the materials and rank out the materials in Edcredible, we did schedule a review committee meeting for February 13th to rank them out. I'm going to give that one a check minus. We had to bump that one to February 22nd just to some scheduling logistics, but we did accomplish that. Our committees did convene with our teachers and our parent representatives also. They were on the committee, and so we did meet and rank out our publishers. So we have ranked them out. I'll use elementary as an example. With 6 publishers, we have ranked them out 1 through 6 at this time. After we met to rank out the publishers, our top 2 publishers were then forwarded to the schools. There were informational sessions that were conducted by the committee members at each school. And so there was a school voting process. We also had a publisher meet and greet on March 2nd. That was open to the community, teachers, parents, anybody that wanted to come and speak to the 2 publishers, ask questions and get a feel for those materials. We did have that opportunity also. And then again, we had our school voting process that was scheduled to conclude on March 10th, and we did conclude that this past Friday. So all the school ballots have been tallied, all the publishers have been ranked out, and so now our next question is, what do we do next? Last year, again, as Mr. Chambers alluded to, the process had been fairly benign. Once you had your list, you went forward, we would make a recommendation to the board, and it was almost like a rubber stamp from the state level. And obviously we had a little rug pull on us, and so we did try to adapt our process a little bit. And so just another reminder on the opportunities for feedback along the way in our process. During this process, we were constantly updating our website with where we were in the process. We did live stream all the publisher presentations and the committee meetings. We also recorded them if somebody was not able to make it. That was out there on the website, and they're out there now if somebody wanted to go back and watch them. The ranking meetings were also recorded and published, and I will give a plug for Paul McNeely. He did a great job. He was here with me, came early, stayed late, so I couldn't have done that without him, and Ms. Buchanan updating the website also. Clicker will work. So where do we go from here? So we have now ranked our publishers. And so I think the biggest word I like to emphasize now is now we wait. We have our rankings. Ideally, our top choice will be recommended by the state. We plan to sit tight and wait on the state to finalize their final approved publisher list. And so they're going through the same process we're going through here locally in conversations with the publishers. They are getting feedback from the state. I think I don't want to be overly optimistic. It's a little more proactive approach based on some conversations I had last week. They're getting feedback from the department. So we're hopeful that the list might be a little more robust this year on the initial release. If that is not the case, again, we are prepared to go to our next highest ranking. If number one was not on the state-approved list, then we're prepared to go to our next highest publisher that has been ranked through our process. The big one that I always like to emphasize is once we bring a recommendation to you, it's got to sit for 30 days. And so that does slow the process down in terms of ordering. And so that's why we did try to be more proactive this year to combat any potential issues with the list. And then also we can get books ordered as quickly as possible. So the short bid list that we use, that's the initial list the state provides us. That does have the potential to change. Once the state releases that list, it could be narrowed further. It won't expand, it'll get smaller like it did last year. We are hopeful that it'll not be the scope that it was last year, but we are prepared if we need to respond appropriately.
I want to thank you for your leadership, and this is very thorough, and I think anybody can understand this process, and I hope that the public's looking at this to see what a thorough job you've done to make sure that we've gone through the process and not that it was our fault, but a similar thing. We're prepared if something comes from the state, because that could always happen, but I think this is very transparent on what we're doing with textbooks, and we certainly want that because we want our public, our parents and all to know what we're doing about materials that their students will be using. So thank you so much for this explanation. I'm glad to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I concur, Ms. Vancheck, and this is something good, and I appreciate the way that you've presented it, and this will certainly be something that as we have various questions in the community, that we can refer folks to this particular meeting, and they can watch it online and see exactly how we did this. So thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Gore, you were talking about meetings with publishers and all that. Do you think they got the message from just trying to get the math books out that, let's...
I will say yes. I hate to always speak for publishers. I do think some of the companies are nationwide, obviously, and large organizations. But the feedback that I received from them is they learned from the math adoption, which I won't venture to guess what the motivation was last year.
Right.
But I do think that there was a learning process to be more proactive on the submission and also be more proactive on the communication with the state. And so we're hopeful that it benefits us. We hope that we benefit ultimately, so we can get
Right.
books out to students as quickly as possible, because that's the ultimate goal, is not to have a delay in ordering.
Out of all the subjects that we would have never thought would have been scrutinized was the math, and then of course coming into social studies this year, it's great to hear that the process is going a lot better. So, and we'll get those. We should be able to get those books to those
We'll
kids.
knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
So, I would close with, and I try to do this at every meeting, is I want to give a lot of thanks to the committees, the teachers and the parents. They did a great job. The publishers did a great job, but the teachers put a lot of work in. You could tell they really dug into the materials. They were very engaged in the presentations. They asked some great questions. They also emailed me for more feedback. So really, they've done the bulk of the work. I get to stand up here and present what they did, but they really did the heavy lifting on this, and also Mr. McNeely, Ms. Buchanan. So definitely a team effort, and they did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
And the last item I have is just to let the board know we'll have members from our Youth Leadership Council here tonight. Just to give you a brief presentation on some of the work that they've been doing with the Okaloosa County Commissioner, specifically Commissioner Ponder. They are putting together a project, so to speak, for Okaloosa County and for Okaloosa schools. So we'll be very interested to hear their information tonight. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
That'll be exciting. Thank you. So that brings us to Section 13, Board Members' Announcements and/or Request for Information. And I'll start with Ms. Gardner.
Why, thank you. Just briefly, just a shout out to Mr. Chambers, Sheriff Aiden, and those that worked on this anti-vape campaign and developing it. What an important message. And I really hope our parents and even community really will look at that and talk to their students. There's a wealth of information. There's links on there, student services that if an individual parent would like to contact the district, the student service number is on there. It's on our website also, but we can help them with that. I was really taken back, and it's one of those things you know, but until you see it in writing, that the CDC was stated that 1 in 10 middle school, high school students are vaping. And that is alarming. I'm surprised at some of the high school students I was talking to that don't think vaping is bad for you. For some reason, they think that it's not like smoking a cigarette or whatever other chemical may be in it. But I think this education is truly going to be helpful, and I just appreciate that, what's been done. I know Ms. Card has sent out several messages, and just getting this out as many ways, through as many ventures, many avenues that we can do it, I think would be very helpful. So nice job with that.
And Ms. Gardner, if you don't mind.
No, please do.
Because you mentioned, so Ms. Card has done a great job on this. And then we also have Hillary over there, who's done an absolutely fantastic job getting out the social media, the videos as well. So just appreciate the work that they've both done in this area.
And I can't wait to see the student-produced things.
Right.
I think that's really going to have an
So
impact.
often, that's where some of the best ideas, the most
Yeah,
creative.
and they
I mean,
respond to
don't take
that.
Yeah.
not
No offense
personal,
to you, but they respond to their peers.
They do.
Yeah.
Agreed.
They really do. And as important as this message is, I hope that it's going to be something that we continue to push out, not just for the next week or two, but continue. Surprised also that I see students within sporting events after school in some of our school property that at a game, and you can see them quickly do something like this. They need to realize that that's school property, and same rules apply right there also. Just a quick, I was watching the videos playback of the workshop and the board meeting while I was gone, and thank you, Dr. Kelly, for the shout out for our twins.
Of course.
The past 7 months have been difficult, but they are here. They're healthy. They're absolutely perfect. They're precious, and all of the many comments that it's been very, very helpful and supportive. And sorry. And if you would like, I promised to only show you the first 200 pictures on my phone. After the meeting, if you want to see pictures of these precious babies, I'll promise I'll stop at 200. So, but thank you all of you for your support over these last many months. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. We are glad you're back.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad to be
exciting.
back.
Yep.
That was
Ms.
fun.
Evanchik?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to just update you that the College and Career Fair was a huge success. In fact, it's growing so much that we are probably going to have to look at another venue to be able to accommodate the number of students, and also excitingly, the number of vendors who now want to take part. You know, when you see success, you want to be a part of that. So that's really exciting that we're able to have that. And that, of course, comes through our Public Schools Foundation. So that was good. Want to announce over at Florosa this Friday, of course, it's St. Patrick's Day. They're having a fun run, and the public can get onto their web page, and you can donate, and that helps them get some supplies that they need. So you're sponsoring students in the fun run. But a real exciting announcement for Florosa is that their principal, Ms. Dawn Massey, was chosen to be an honorary commander at Hurlburt. She's going to be at the Special Operations Wing. She's the only Okaloosa County School District employee chosen. And I'm very excited that she's one of the 13. I know this is a very competitive position to get, and she's just excited, and they're going to love having her with her energy. So yeah,
Well deserved.
she's really gonna make a mark. So she's very excited. I'm so glad that she was chosen to be a part of this. She told me after spring break, she'll have a meeting to find out exactly what she'll be doing, but and I can update you later on that. But I tell you, it's going to be good for her and all that. And of course, as we know, just a year ago, Miss Massey was chosen our elementary principal of the year for the district. So I'm very excited for her. And then up north at Baker, I want to congratulate the Baker Band and Chorus for winning superior ratings in the MPA assessments. And really want to shout out to their director for both, Mr. Stuart Campbell up there. He does both, all the music programs on the secondary level, choral and band. He does them all. So he does just a great job. Almost said superior because they are superior, but he does do a great job in helping those students. And one other thing from Baker is we have, we have two students, Sophie Palm and Lily Adams, who were chosen to go on the Chelco Youth Tour to Washington, D.C. This is a big thing that's been going on many years, and of course Chelco is the electricity provider in many of the North End homes. And so these two ladies will be headed to Washington, D.C., representing our area coming up this summer. So it's a very coveted position, and I can't wait to see how they do. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evanchik. Mr. Bryant?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the public, I apologize for my having to get up and move out, but the pollen season has been murder on me this year. And so I do apologize that I had to get up and excuse myself. But I will say that this week is going to be a busy week in Tallahassee, and as the board representative, as the legislative liaison, Thursday is our day in the legislature, and I've definitely have meetings set up with our local representatives. Of course, I'll be sharing our platform with them, and of course the other issues that have come up over the last couple of weeks. Of course, we all know that, you know, until everything is signed, sealed, and delivered by the governor, we never know what's going to transpire out of all of this. But I'm really excited to be the board representative, and I know all five of us are very active with talking to our local delegation. So I'm looking forward to that. That actually begins tomorrow night for me and then goes all the way through Friday. So looking forward to that.
And thank you for representing us
Yes.
with that. Appreciate it.
Is that it? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. White?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll reserve my remarks for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. And I'll just wrap up with saying we do have a busy month of March remaining. As Ms. Evanchik said, March the 17th is St. Patrick's Day, but it's also the end of the third quarter, followed by March 20th through 24th, which is spring break. And March 27th would be a teacher workday student holiday. And of course, that means March 28th will be the first day of the fourth quarter. I wanted to announce for Plough Elementary that the Plough Parent Leader Association is having a unique event for a fundraiser. They are having a purse bingo. I'd never heard of a purse bingo, but it sounds like fun. It's going to be held at the Rocky Bayou Country Club, and the VIP hour starts at 5 with bingo games beginning at 6. And what a purse bingo is, I learned, is a section of high-end handbags stuffed with all kinds of sponsor-related, business-given goodies. So you want to go and play purse bingo to support Plough Elementary on April the 15th. Go ahead and put that on your calendar right now. And that is all I have, except to ask anyone from the staff have any announcements or anything you want to add? Greg? Patrick? So with that, we would have tonight, Section 14, a public comment section for the yellow card, and after that, our favorite time, which would be adjournment. Thank you all so much.